you're looking to get into the automotive industry, I highly suggest. What's going on, guys? In today's video, I want to make it for individuals who are on the fence about joining the automotive industry, especially now that we're going into spring. It's the leap year, and there's so many influencers out there that you kind of can't seem to figure out who's telling the truth, who's trying to sell you a course, and everything in between. So hopefully at the end of this video, you guys can make a decision whether or not the automotive industry may or may not be the right decision for you. With that said, let's dive right into it. Again, it's a quick disclaimer. This is from my perception as an individual who got into the automotive industry pre-COVID, and I'm still in the industry post-COVID. So take that as you may, and all the information that I'm providing with it. So going back to my experience, prior to going into automotive, I was in non-prime financing. So non-prime financing, we were giving out personal loans for 46.96%, and it was astronomically high. And now I know people are gonna watch this video and go, wow, man, that's criminal. Dude, I was getting paid a salary and a bonus. I was not getting paid the 46.96% myself. It was going to the shareholders, not me. Anyways, I got out of that space, I got into non-prime financing, and I got into a role that was very unique in the automotive industry. It's called one touch. So one touch in the automotive industry is basically doing the deal from front to back or from start to finish. What does that look like? Well, I would sell the vehicle, and then I would sell the finance, and I'd deliver the vehicle. For most dealerships that are relatively large, you'd have a couple people in between actually doing this process. You'd have a salesperson, you'd have a delivery specialist, you'd have a finance manager, and sometimes you'd have a sales manager that can help you out with numbers. For myself, I went into a bit of a mom and pop shop dealership. It was a Mitsubishi dealer here in Vancouver, British Columbia, not really Vancouver, but close enough in the vicinity. And I went in, my prior experience of that was in litigations. I was suing people that weren't paying the 46.96% loan. Yeah, I'm not a great person, but that is what it is. But I was suing them, and then my buddy said, hey, you should get into automotive. This is gonna be fantastic. You make all the money, blah, blah, blah. Here's my paycheck. You'll have a great time. And I'm like, cool, I'll try it. Worst case scenario, I go bankrupt and start over. As you can see, I'm very open to risk. I was very open to risk at that time because I was about 22 at that time. Anyways, back to it. I got in my first week. I did something that other people in the industry would not dare to do. I got in the 15th of November. I still remember it. And most people, when I got in, told me, you're gonna have a hard time. It's the end of the year, people are winding down, you're gonna be faced against, winter seasons and the man with a fat suit, or the fat man with a red suit rather. And they were right, it was a terrible time to get into the industry. In my head, I devised this plan that I'm gonna sell 3 cars my first day. I got excited. And my first day, I got in, nobody walked in the dealership. Second day, I got in, I got a lead from our online leads manager, gave me 2 leads, and I called them. Second I got them, called them, email, text, you can name it, I was there. They didn't reply back, and I hit a stone wall. So I'm like, shoot, I gotta find a way to make money because this is a commission-only based role. And I was stressed out, so I went to the service department, and I talked to people in the service department. Hey, what are you doing today? Are you here looking at a car? Are you here to get your car serviced? What kind of car do you have? I was terrible in sales. I was not as adequately equipped in speaking with individuals as I am today. But with that said, I got one person that might have been interested and one person that referred me to the cousin that's looking for a car. On my 3rd day of getting to the dealership, it was my day off. And I remember going in and I had a coworker that said, dude, why are you here? And I said, I don't know when my day off is, and I'm not gonna take a day off until I sell a car. I got a lead from our online leads manager at that time. He said, dude, I like your attitude. Here's a couple leads your way, work them. And I remember I called this one lead. So I'm multilingual. I speak a few dialects that are from the Philippines. I see this person's name, look Filipino. My Filipino senses are tingling. I'm like, oh, this is probably the one. This is the one. And I didn't know at the time, but it was the one. Spoiler alert. So I called this person. I said, hey, is this so-and-so? Yes, it is. Hey, my name is Miko. I'm calling you from this dealership. I got your application for vehicle financing. What are you looking at? What type of budget are we working with? And I remember they told me everything, ran through credit application. I was excited. I was so pumped because the first time I saw a little bit of progression, okay? And then I pulled the credit bureau. At this time, I already knew how to read credit, so I pulled the bureau and I see it. I remember the score was 427. Multiple collection items, multiple inquiries. This person is not gonna get approved by themselves for a $40,000 car. I was stressed. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I left my well-paying salary job, my career for this automotive dream, and I was so flustered. So what did I do next? I went home because it was already 9 p.m. Went home, got stressed out, was texting the guy, and I asked him, do you possibly have a wife that can co-sign with you? And he's like, yeah, absolutely I do. But she has a car loan, but my son, he can co-sign, and he's more than willing to co-sign. Thanks for asking. I just asked my son. And I said, bet. Let me talk to your son first thing tomorrow morning, and let's get this on the go. The reason why I said tomorrow morning was I was texting him at like 10 p.m. at night. Next morning rolls around, 8 a.m. in the morning. I call him. I'm at the dealership. I run through a credit application, and wow, 735 beacon score. Oh, established credit. Not a new-to-comer program. This guy is a citizen. This guy has cash down, and he can get approved. So I play with the numbers. I go into the portal that we have. I submit it. I see that beautiful gray light first, gray, enter. And then it turned green and it was done. Game over. I remember the second it turned green, I got super excited and I said, all right, I'm gonna pick you guys up with the car that you want and we'll get it done. So I brought the car over to them. I showed them the vehicle, obviously got the car cleaned up, got the car detailed, smelling good, smelling fresh, smelling right. They walked around the car, I did the walk around, and I did something different that I didn't realize back then. What I did was I brought the vehicle to them. I didn't get them to come to the vehicle. So I brought the vehicle to them and they test drove it on a comfortable route that they felt okay with. And what happened with that is they took mental ownership because they were driving in their home route. I was in their home field. I was at a disadvantage and I didn't even know it at the time. So they said, all right, let's do the paperwork. So we go back to the dealership. We drive all the way back to the dealership. And I remember we sat down at the desk and they looked at me and they said, how much are payments? How much are this? How much are that? Gave them the worksheet and they said, this is way too expensive. We can't afford it. And you could already guess, I'm at day 4, day 5 at this point, and I'm stressed out, I'm concerned. So the first thing that came out of my mouth is, guys, there's 3 of you. All 3 of you are gonna be sharing the vehicle. Why don't you just split the cost between the 3 of you plus insurance and gas? Sounds like a no-brainer to me. And they go, oh yeah, we didn't think about that. All right, cool. They signed the deal. They signed the worksheet. So I'm excited. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get the vehicle in for detail. Let me talk about insurance, warranties, and pro packages that we can discuss for your vehicle and go from there. We sit down in my office. I present the packages and we go over the payments. And guess what, guys? They signed it. They bought everything that I could possibly present them. And then afterwards, we did the walk around, final time, connected the phone and the Bluetooth, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I remember going up to the sticker board the first time, putting my name on that sticker board. Everyone else had 4 or 5 deals. I was coming on the 19th day of the month, putting that name on the sticker board, but I was paid on gross profit. Everyone's paid on gross profit. And everyone was like, how much gross was that deal? How much gross? And at this point in time, I didn't even know. I didn't even care. I just cared that I put a sticker on the board. And the sales manager pulled me in and he said, hey, take a look at this. And I remember we showed them gross profit, and for full context, I probably made my 15 days worth of income off that one deal. And I was hooked. Now, I'm telling you the story because that's how I got started in the automotive industry. A lot of people have different stories. Some other people start in the automotive industry and they don't sell anything for a couple of days and then they sell something and it's a snowball effect from there. Some people sell something in the first day. For myself, it took me a few days and it took me a lot of jigsaw puzzling, getting a cosigner, getting this, getting that, going over objections almost instantly on my first deal that I'm working before I can get a deal, before it even hit, and before I can put a sticker on the board and have a little bit of success. But I can tell you, after that deal was written, after that deal was done, it was like November 20, November 21st, I had 4 other deals afterwards. I got 2 referrals from them, and I pulled up another file from a file that was sitting in the back credenza of another finance manager's office that got fired. And that's all it took. And from there, my career snowballed into something so beautiful that it is today. I mean, I'm so grateful for all the experiences, all the people, the life that I live today, all because of the automotive. Now, with that said though, there is the flip side to this. I know a whole bunch of people that I started out with, and their life is not necessarily as equivocal or equivalent to the life that I'm living. I know a lot of guys that are still living paycheck to paycheck. I know a lot of guys that struggle to make $3,000 a month, but I also know a lot of guys that I started out with that are making $20,000 a month. I also know people that are doing the whole non-prime game still that are making $10,000 to $12,000 to $13,000 a month. So what does this mean for someone going into the industry? Does it mean that you go straight into non-prime and try to figure it out on your own? Well, candidly, I highly suggest against it. And the reason why I suggest against it, even though that's where I began, even though that's where my roots really began in, is because it's a lot harder than it sounds like. For most people, they hear the story and they go, I could probably do that with my eyes closed. But here's the thing, gross profit is no longer the same, dealer reserve for banks is no longer the same, approvals is no longer the same, the whole industry has changed substantially. Now, I know a lot of people are watching this, they're like, well, Miko, you just said some guys are making 20 G's. Yes, they're making 20 G's, but they have an established book of business. They have an established connect with like lead connections. They have an established way of buying vehicles and selling vehicles, and they have a whole team behind them supporting them. It's no longer them by themselves struggling every day. It becomes a bigger game where they're playing king piece instead of the pawn. And that's the reason why, right? So, if you're looking to get into the automotive industry, I highly suggest to do these 3 things first. Number 1, make sure you have a safety net for your financial setup. There's going to be times, especially if you go in at a hard time, go in the automotive industry, like say October, November, December. For most people, it was hard. For myself, it was a little bit different, but I consider myself lucky that I wasn't in that, oh my gosh, it's so hard to sell cars phase. So have a little bit of money saved up, so that way, if you have a hard time making ends meet for 1 to 2 months, you're okay. Number 2, and as bad as it sounds, it's very counterintuitive to what every single sales trainer is saying out there, but this industry is not for everybody. This industry is not for the weak-hearted. This industry is not for the thin-skinned. If you're afraid of a little bit of objections, if you're afraid of working long hours, then this industry is not for you. One thing I didn't mention in the past that I did was those days where I was working at the dealership, I didn't only come on my day off. I was working 12 hours a day. If you listened earlier, I was working till 10 p.m. at home sometimes. And it didn't stop after I made my first good month. It continued for another 3, 4, even until now, I'm working 6 to 7 days a week, and I candidly enjoy what I do, so it doesn't really feel like work. And the third thing that you need to prepare yourself with is the people around you. You need to set expectations up for the people around you, because if you're going into the automotive industry, you quite candidly need to go in with both feet. You need to be able to jump in and try to swim and figure it out as quickly as possible. And the people around you need to be understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. You don't want to have a nagging girlfriend or a live-in partner or a boyfriend or a husband or wife or whatever you live with, some significant other, and they're bitching and moaning about how you're always at work and you're always talking about work and you can't whatever. You can't put your phone down. You're never going to succeed, right? If you have someone who can't handle a little bit of you talking to customers during lunch, during dinner to accomplish the dreams that you want to accomplish, it's not for you. Let's be honest here. You have to choose between one or the other, and sometimes the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the husband, the spouse is the right choice. Sometimes it's not. I'm not here to tell you what you guys should do, but prior to coming to the automotive industry, my wife and I made an agreement that we're going to try it out for 3 months. If it doesn't work out 3 months later, oh well, we tried. We had, quite candidly, not enough money to cover the expenses. I actually went into my overdraft in my bank account to cover my license fees to be in the automotive industry. I mean, nicely speaking now, I don't have to ever do that. Hopefully never have to ever again in my life to, spend $200 going negative $200 in my bank account. It is what it is. I'm happy I made a decision. But for most people, it's a big decision to make. But what I want you guys to consider before coming into the industry, it's a beautiful industry to be in, lots of upside, but also lots of downside. Like I said, lots of people making lots of money. All these sales trainers will tell you, all you gotta do is say this, this, and this to your customer, they'll buy. Yes, there's some videos where I say something similar, but let's be honest, it's never that way. Right? Customers will throw you curveballs. They'll bring their cousins. They'll bring their village. They'll do whatever it takes to get the best deal, and rightfully so. So the best thing you can do is really come to a realization that the industry is not a walk in the park like everyone makes it seem to be. But with that said, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I'm kind of hungry. I'm tired. It's month end. February 29th. Welcome to March 1st, probably when you see this video. If you're looking to get into the industry, I highly suggest you do it. And if you're really interested in getting into the industry, you want to dive both feet in, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because it is business-centric, but also leaning more towards the automotive side. You are joining the automotive industry, have a very fruitful career, and I will see you in the next one if you subscribe.